34-year-old Ibrahim Traoré is the new self-declared leader of Burkina Faso.
In 2022, when Captain Ibrahim Traoré seized power in Burkina Faso through a military coup, Western media celebrated.
People are celebrating the appointment of Traore as president. They say because he's fought on the ground and seen the suffering of his people, that he'll be able to change the situation.
Burkina Faso expelled the French troops in February
Traore
2022.
has gone from being a career soldier to the leader of the West African nation.
Then, they changed their song months later. Same voices, singing a different tune.
Breaking news now in Burkina Faso. There are reports that 200 soldiers have been killed in attacks by an Al-Qaeda affiliate.
Burkina Faso's transitional president in the country's second coup in less than 9 months.
Captain Traore in Burkina Faso, their gold reserves, all those proceeds are just in exchange to protect the junta regime.
He is no longer promising. He is now a dangerous populist, a pro-Russian dictator. Why? What changed? Was it his record? Was it because he wasn't elected? Or was it his independence and refusal to become a house slave for the West like those before him? What has he done that is so grave that we are losing count of the number of assassination attempts he has survived? Yes, he got into power undemocratically. He challenged the status quo set by the West, not with slogans, but with policies.
What actually inspires us and make us love him is that while fighting the terrorists, he's actually building the country.
So you may ask, how is implementing policies that he thinks may benefit a country that is supposed to be sovereign a problem? Or what is the West really scared of? They definitely aren't scared of him because he's a military dictator, and they aren't scared because he is holding on to power without conducting elections, because democracy doesn't matter to the Western elite. Control is. The truth is that Western powers have supported far worse as long as their interests were protected. The question isn't, what has Traore done wrong? Maybe it is, what is he doing differently?
Ibrahim Traoré has a big heart. He is open, sentimental, and deeply passionate about the future of our country.
Here is where things got uncomfortable for the West. Traoré expelled French forces and shut down France 24 and RFI. Like it or not, in doing good or bad, controlling the narrative is essential. Every government around the world do the same. He fostered military and economic ties with, quote and unquote, the #1 enemy of the West, Russia. We will need a new definition for sovereignty, because it's like someone else telling you who to be friends with, basically saying you have to be friends with us or no one else, whether you like it or not. So, if a partnership isn't giving me progress, wouldn't I be stupid to stay in that partnership? It required foreign companies to give 15% equity in gold operations to the Burkina state. Just like US President Trump justifiably chose to impose tariffs how he thinks it will benefit the US. So, what's the tantrum for when Traore asked for 15%? You don't have to agree, but it's what he thinks is best, and if you don't like it, take your business elsewhere. Burkina Faso is Africa's 4th largest gold producer, yet its people are among the poorest in the world. So, is it sensible to stick to the same template that effectively made sure their fate doesn't change? Insanity is defined as doing the same thing over and over again the same way, but expecting a different result. Certainly, except being insane benefits someone or some people, shouldn't sanity be applauded? In a country where 40% live below the poverty line, taking back resources isn't nationalism, it's survival. He also called for Pan-African unity and economic reliance, a call that goes against the grand old divide and rule strategy, which has kept African countries under control of the West since 1884 till date. The last person who tried this is in a grave. The West says they care about democracy, transparency, and human rights. But let's talk about the CFA franc. a colonial currency system still controlled by France that determines the economies of 14 African nations. Countries using it are required to deposit half of their reserves in the French central bank. France also maintains veto power over monetary policies. That's not just influence, that is control. If you look back, you'll see that Western powers often say they support democracy, freedom, human rights, development and progress of Africa, but do something completely different in practice. Paul Biya, one of the world's longest ruling presidents, ruled Cameroon since 1982 and had the full blessing of France, and by extension the senior members of the G7. Or different definition for democracy that we didn't know about. In 1961, France and Belgium orchestrated the assassination of Patrice Lumumba. Democratic Republic of Congo's first democratically elected prime minister. Just in case you didn't hear that, democratically elected. He wanted independence from Western control. So, they killed him using Mobutu Sese Seko. His murder is now widely acknowledged to have been backed by Belgium and approved by Western intelligence agencies. Mobutu Sese Seko thereafter ruled Congo for 32 years with French and American support. He was a dictator, but the West supported him for decades because he protected their interests, with no care about the human rights, freedom, and well-being of the Congolese people. How about Libya's Gaddafi? He was killed after proposing to create a gold-backed African currency to challenge the US dollar and the CFA franc. Muammar Gaddafi was overthrown in 2011 with Western military support and killed. Something even President Trump agrees was bad for the people of Libya. You just take a listen.
We certainly have not gained anything with Gaddafi, and you look at what happened. I mean, look at Libya, look at Iraq. Iraq used to be no terrorists. He would kill the terrorists immediately. It was like, now it's the Harvard of terrorism. If you look at Iraq from years ago, I'm not saying he was a nice guy, he was a horrible guy, but it was a lot better than it is right now. Right now, Iraq is a training ground for terrorists.
The world would be better off with Saddam Hussein
100%.
and Gaddafi in power?
100%. Now, as far as Assad is concerned.
What about the human rights abuses?
Let's talk, well, you don't think they're happening now? Right now, they're far worse than they were ever under Saddam Hussein or Gaddafi. I mean, look what happened. Libya's a catastrophe.
So, is it really about Traore being a dictator or delaying elections? The problem with Traore isn't that he seized power. It's that he has refused to be a house slave, asking the West for permission. This isn't about democracy anymore. It's about who gets to define it and who profits from the definition. Culturally, the great African societies like the Benin Kingdom, Oyo Empire, Zulu Kingdom, ancient Egypt were never built on Western-style liberal democracy. Kings, princes, and village chiefs were often not elected, but they were deeply accountable through traditional systems that provided checks and balances. So when the West insists democracy is the only valid path, we should ask, whose democracy? Because peace, progress, and development doesn't always follow elections. And I am not saying democracy is bad or some specific structure of government is good, but the type of government a country operates should be sovereign and best suited to the people. And if a type of government isn't working, what's wrong in changing it and explore a different approach? For example, see Rwanda, not a liberal democracy, but stable and fast-growing. How about Gaddafi's Libya? Highest Human Development Index in Africa pre-2011 before NATO's foreign intervention turned it into a war zone. Ethiopia is rapidly growing under centralized leadership. Maybe Africa doesn't need democracy first. Maybe it needs sovereignty first. And who really cares what playbook or political ideologies bring about development, wealth, peace, and progress? Of course, Traore isn't perfect. There are reports of human rights abuses, press suppression, and delays in returning to civilian rule. Those are serious. But there is no government existing on planet Earth today that is perfect. In fact, the crimes of Traore are arguably the standard operating procedures for every global power outfit today, including the United States. Drone strikes have killed civilians. Western powers have given support for ethically wrong wars that have killed innocent children and civilians whose only request is to be allowed to live. Is it France, where protests have been met with state violence? The question is this: is this serving its people better? If the answer is yes, even to a certain degree than its predecessors, then what's the tantrum for? I am guessing we all know it's not about tyranny, as tyranny has never been a problem for the West if it favors them. What we are watching is transformation that threatens the status quo, and it just simply needs time to complete. I personally want to see it play out, for us to see what is truly achievable for Africa without the overbearing shadow of the West. The potential outcome of what Traore is cooking is what they fear the most: the end of neocolonialism. Across Africa, the mood is shifting. From Mali to Niger to Central African Republic, countries are rethinking their alliances. And with BRICS expanding, and China, Russia, and India offering alternatives to Western finance, Africa has leverage it has never had before. If he succeeds, that is Traore, he opens the door not just for Burkina Faso, but for every African country that wants to walk away from dependence and be truly sovereign. The West fears Traore, not just for what he is, but for what he represents: the possibility of an entire continent finally choosing its own path. Maybe it's about time the global West cut the and hypocrisy and truly become the development partner they claim to be. So, they called Sankara dangerous. Now they call Traore a threat too. But maybe what's truly threatening is an African leader who dares to be independent. Because in a world like ours that is built on control, freedom might be the most dangerous idea of all. What do you think? Is Ibrahim Traoré Africa's next great leader, or another strong man in uniform? Let's debate in the comments. And don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. See you on the next one. Cheers, guys.